The New York Knicks surprised everyone in the NBA community last season and making the playoffs in comfortable fashion and being one of the more dominant regular season teams in the Eastern Conference, being way ahead of the timeline that many people had for this group and putting themselves in the conversation for the playoffs for years to come in the Eastern Conference. That being said, they did not rest on their laurels for the upcoming season. They have improved this roster and look poised to push for the playoffs again in the upcoming season. And so when you talk about those moves that they have made, Kemba Walker has now joined the team, Evan Fournier has now joined the team, and I think those are very notable and important additions. The biggest weakness to this team last year was their lack of shot creation and the lack of scoring. They have now brought in amazing spacing in Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier, and players that can create their own shot and take some of that pressure, most notably off of Julius Randle, and also off of RJ Barrett. So now, when they are rolling that starting lineup, they legitimately have 4 guys that can get you a bucket and can space the floor. Something that they did not have last year. Something that did not exist on this New York Knicks team. This is while still having Derrick Rose off of the bench. This is while still having Alex Burks off of the bench, which can give them some good punch off of the bench for some scoring. They also still have Emmanuel Quickley. They have a lot of scoring options now that reside in the starting lineup and on the bench, while still having enough pieces to the point where they should be a good enough defensive team with the likes of Nerlens Noel, Mitch Robinson, Randall, RJ Barrett, Kemba Walker, and Evan Fournier's defense is a little bit more non-ideal, but they have good rim protectors and enough defenders on the perimeter that they should still be at solid defense, especially with Tom Thibodeau as their head coach. But their offense has taken a big step forward with the addition of Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier. Derrick Rose, Alex Burks, Nerlens Noel, and Saj Gibson were all re-signed, keeping their depth as the only notable losses to this group for Reggie Bullock and Alfred Payton. They also lost Norvell Pell, Teal Pinson, Jared Harper, and Frank Ntilikina, but I don't think they really had too much interest in retaining any of those players. And so now when you look forward to next season, their guard depth is absolutely ridiculous with an absolute abundance of scoring. Kemba Walker, Derrick Rose, Emmanuel Quickley, Evan Fournier, Alex Burks. There is a lot of scoring there. Kemba Walker, of course, brings a lot of experience and a much-needed improved point guard for this team, so allowing Derrick Rose to come off of the bench and be the 6th man for this team. Evan Fournier will play at the 2 or at the 3. RJ Barrett playing the 1 that he doesn't, giving them great scoring at the 2 and at the 3, and I think RJ Barrett is poised to improve even more for this upcoming season. He has turned into an extremely good 3-point shooter and will continue to give them very good spacing and production from range this upcoming season. And Julius Randle will hope to continue his all-NBA caliber level of play. I don't know how replicable that is. I think Julius Randle is still going to be extremely good this upcoming season, but with more options on this team, he can hopefully be more efficient and just have a lesser role, which may get him not in an all-star game again, but it's probably more beneficial to the actual success of the New York Knicks long-term to have Julius Randle not have to play like an all-star and have more depth around him with RJ Barrett, with Evan Fournier, with Kemba Walker, with Derrick Rose, have more scoring options around him so he can focus more on defense, he can be more efficient, he can be more of a playmaker from time to time, and not just have to be the guy to get buckets, which ultimately was a problem for them last year in the playoffs. Obi Toppin will hopefully have a better second year in the NBA as he will continue to come off of the bench for them. And then they have 2 great rim protecting centers in Nerlens Noel and Mitch Robinson, which are really going to help anchor this defense and make this defense a very formidable group, even with some players on their perimeter that historically aren't great defenders, specifically Kemba Walker. Having an anchor like that at the back end of your defense is going to make you tough to score against at any point in time, in any matchup. That is always going to be tough to go against. And with Tom Thibodeau leading the way as their coach, they are always going to be a tough unit to score the ball against, and will at the very least always be a top half defense, not a top 10 defense in the NBA, while having a much better offense this upcoming season. That being said, it's not just quite as black and white as this team improved, so they will do better this season in the Eastern Conference, because the Eastern Conference has improved a lot. Chicago are significantly better. Atlanta are going to be even better, because now they have a full year with Nate McMillan. Boston, I expect to be much better. Indiana, Toronto, Charlotte, if they can stay healthy. There are a lot of teams that are going to be better this upcoming season. And so ultimately, the Knicks aren't just going to have a linear path up from the 4 seed last year, because Miami, Brooklyn, and Milwaukee exist, and that's probably going to be the top 3. Ultimately, I do think the Knicks are going to make the postseason, but I think it's going to be via the play-in. I have them finishing in and around the 8 seed. You can argue a couple of spots up or down for me, because that bottom half of the Eastern Conference is extremely hard to predict and filled with a lot of good teams. But ultimately, I think the Knicks are going to be a very good team this upcoming season. I think they are a much better roster than last season. And ultimately, I think if they get into the playoffs, they are in a better position to succeed in the playoffs than they were last year. But their matchup might not allow them to be as successful as they were last year, depending on the seeding they get. Ultimately, the Knicks could surprise the NBA world again and do a lot better than some expect them, and be towards the top end of the conference again. I just personally don't expect it. I think this group's going to be better than they were last year. I just think they have now been surrounded by an Eastern Conference that is much better than it was last year, and that could see them slip down the standings a bit. But all in all, a much improved team, a lot more scoring depth, a lot less pressure on Julius Randle, a lot more scoring options and creativity for this group, which ultimately can lead them to be a much better offensive unit while still being a solid defensive team. So let me know down in the comment section what you guys think about this New York Knicks roster headed into the 2021-22 NBA season. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And if you want to continue to hear other season previews, then be sure to stay tuned to the channel and click the box on the right hand side of the screen. Stay tuned for the rest. That being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.